I got a very interesting question on Quora, so I wanted to tackle it here in this video. The question is, why do questions enhance your creativity? Why are they so important to the creative process? Well, in a very general way, questions create opportunities while solutions converge on one single idea. So the more questions you have, the more exploration that you're going to be doing. Whereas if you have an answer, you're not really going to be searching for anything different. And this is why we see a lot of companies that become very, very successful using this one formula, and then they're unable to see that everything is changing and that they're not moving with the rest of society. It's something that Yahoo fell in with Google. Blockbuster got taken over by Netflix. All of these came because these companies had answers, but they didn't have the questions. So Netflix had the question, well, why can't we send a DVD in the mail? If Blockbuster had been asking that question rather than saying we have a strategic advantage because we have so many different stores, then they might have been able to stop Netflix before they got crushed. So in a general way, questions enhance our opportunity. And it's actually been shown in a laboratory. It's really cool experiment. And what you can do is the researchers can give a mathematical problem to a group of people, and they can time how long it takes them to solve it. And in order to solve it, you need to use this one specific kind of specific way of solving the problem. So they time it, and they see how long it takes to solve the problem. Then in a new group, they give them the same problem, except before they give them that problem, they give a different problem that requires a different strategy in order to solve it. So they use strategy A to solve the first problem, but the second problem can only be solved by strategy B. And what happens is, if you give somebody a problem that requires strategy A, they try to apply that same strategy even though it's a completely different problem. So you can even tell, like, as long as it looks similar, you can tell the person, look, do not use this strategy, and they will come over here and they will try to use the strategy again. So what happens? Why is this taking place? Because the brain has an answer before it has a question. The people that were only given a strategy B question were a lot faster at solving that problem than the people that got a strategy A question and then had to solve strategy B. So that can take place within the creative process, within like one session of your creative activity. But it also takes place on a longer scale throughout your career. Because what you see in creativity is that people start off in a new industry, they start off with low creativity, which is exactly what you would expect. And then as they get more skills and they get more industry-specific knowledge, they learn more about their industry, their creativity starts to go up. But what you see is that it peaks, and then for a while they're very creative, but then their creativity falls through the floor. And what happens is, or the reason it happens, is because they get so reliant on being able to apply those same strategies that those strategies become outdated and they stop working, and then the creativity, the uniqueness just falls through the floor because they have answers to different questions that are needed to be asked right now. This is why it's so rare to see an artist that's able to stay ahead of the curve for multiple decades. You know, people like George Carlin, that could be a top touring comedian for over 4 decades, is an incredible feat because you have to keep asking yourself new questions and staying ahead of that curve, or you become old and outdated very quickly. Reason number 2 that questions are so important is because they guide us throughout the creative process. So they help us, as an entrepreneur, a question will help us uncover what problems are presented that aren't being satisfied by the market right now. They lead us in a specific direction. So they guide our focus. But then they also help us with generating these new ideas. You say, well, what if I tried this strategy and I did a product like this instead of doing what everyone else is doing? So good quality questions are really the key difference between a product at the end that is not very original and a very, very original product. So let me give you an example of how important these questions can be throughout the creative process. So we look at somebody's career like Charles Darwin. And you can compare them to the other, his peers at the time. At the time, what everyone else was doing is categorizing all the different animals, and they were asking themselves the question, how is this animal different than this one? How is this frog different from this frog? And that question kept going on and on and on. And that was like this exploration of science. It was logging all the differences. But what was so genius about Darwin is that he turned it around. He said, okay, everyone else is going, why are these frogs so different? And then Darwin said, why are these frogs close to the same? And you can see from just that shift in the question that he's on a completely new, a new path now. And so it's not really that Charles Darwin was any smarter or dumber than anybody else working. It was that he was working from a different question. So that's how important questions can be. And I'll leave you with a good quote from Einstein. Einstein said, "The formulation of a problem is often more essential than its solution." And what Einstein's saying here is that being able to ask yourself the appropriate question is often more appropriate than actually finding out the answer to that question. So I'm Jared Volle. You can ask your own question by going to either my website, jaredvolle.com. You can ask on Quora.com, or you can go on YouTube and do a comment. So if you like this video, please make sure you hit that like button and make sure you subscribe if you haven't already done so.